Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hey guys, Nikki here. I originally was going to take an opportunity this week of the International Week to do a little voice note, picking out something from our mailbox to answer, but I think it would be a mistake not to have something for the podcast just addressing everything that's gone on over the last few days with Francesco Acerbi. I've been feeling super conscious that Mina and I recorded our review of Napoli against Inter right after the final whistle. We jumped on together, and we really hadn't seen everything that went on between Juan Jesus and Francesco Acerbi in that game. Obviously, a lot came to light after the final whistle, so I've been feeling anxious that people might be listening to that podcast and thinking, why didn't they address that? Why didn't they talk about that? But the honest answer is, I don't think any of us really knew quite what had gone on. Perhaps we still don't know quite what had gone on, but we didn't really have a sense of that there had been this big situation between Juan Jesus and Francesco Acerbi until Juan Jesus spoke after the game, which again was something that we were recording when he was speaking, I think, so we didn't catch that. There obviously had been something during the game, saw Juan Jesus speaking to the referee, but because play wasn't stopped, there wasn't some big interruption. It didn't come across to us during the game live that it was quite such a big deal. And I guess that's kind of the crux of things in some ways. So let's spin everyone back. Not everyone may have been paying attention. Obviously, Sunday night, Napoli went to Inter and drew 1-1. We talked about the game a tiny bit on the podcast. We mostly talked about the bigger issues surrounding the clubs. It wasn't a particularly thrilling game. Two very tired-looking teams after their Champions League eliminations in midweek. But during the second half of the game, Juan Jesus did have this conversation with the referee that got picked up by the TV cameras even as the game was going on, this conversation with the referee, and now with the knowledge of what he said afterwards being more public, now that we've heard his post-game comments, we now know that he was telling the referee, Federico La Penna, that he was essentially saying Francesco Acerbi had called him un negro. Negro is a complicated word in Italian. I've seen people translating it directly as the N-word in English. I'm not saying that's wrong, by the way, but I think it's sort of probably important to explain that it's contextual. The word negro it's old Italian, so really that's a word that comes from Latin, as indeed the word for black in Italian does, nero, negro. They come from the same Latin stem, and in some cases in the past that word would have been used, negro, as a fairly neutral adjective, just the same as nero is for meaning black, but it's contextual, so it isn't a word that is as commonly used for that nowadays. And if someone uses it in a sentence of calling someone to their face un negro, then I think it becomes fair to translate it more like the N-word, which is what I've seen done in English. But I think that's probably important to explain, just because of the context of of what Acerbi then says that he said. So I'm not saying that to equivocate or to justify it. I'm just saying it to try and explain that sometimes when we translate words, there aren't perfect translations. Not every word has this perfect way of putting it across from one language to another. So that's what Juan Jesus is saying to the referee La Pena at the time. And you can see actually when you watch it back, and again, easier to see when you have this knowledge, that Juan Jesus gestures at his arm, because for this game, for this round of games, all clubs in Serie A were wearing an anti-racism message on their arm. It was one of 2 rounds specifically devoted by Serie A to promoting their anti-racism initiative. So especially horrible timing on, not that the timing should matter, it's horrible anytime it happens, but I understand Juan Jesus' feeling in that moment. You're asking me to wear this on my sleeve, and yet this is happening to me on the pitch. So after the game, you have this situation where Juan Jesus sort of comes out and says that he used a racist phrase to me, but then he also says sono cose de campo, the things happen on the pitch, and you know, it's over, it's done, we leave it on the pitch, which perhaps in itself wasn't a helpful reaction. I think Juan Jesus was trying to be the bigger man in some way, was trying to just move on and not drag this story out. But I think in some ways has probably in some ways it probably would have been more helpful if he'd just been direct and told us at the time exactly what had gone on, because then what happened is,
head to seriachronicles.com/Patreon now and subscribe to the Chronicles Tifosi Patreon membership with a free 7-day trial. Get early access to every full-length episode and voice note before the rest of the world. Plus, all episodes are 100% ad-free. And you get bonus Patreon-only exclusive episodes, video episodes, and behind-the-scenes extras. Also, be sure to join the new chat community in the Patreon app and chat with fellow subscribers.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Because he had said that, it gave Acerbi what I suppose made it easier for Acerbi the next day to say, oh, well, I didn't say anything racist. There must have been a misunderstanding. And then Juan Jesus hears that and goes, well, no, you said something racist, and puts it out on his Instagram and says, I'm not going to let this drop at this point. It's one thing to sort of say we're just going to leave it there, but another thing if you come out and call me a liar and say you didn't say something racist is effectively what happens. And what Juan Jesus puts out on his Instagram is, Acerbi mi ha detto vai via nero, sei solo un negro. Now, to translate that as best we can, Acerbi said to me, go away nero, so that's just black, that is the modern word for black, but go away black person, sei solo un negro. I'm not going to translate the un negro, but I've just given you the best translation that I can. Again, it's the old word for black, but in the context of that sentence, I think it's not at all unfair to translate that as the N word. I think it's if that is indeed what was said, it's a phrase that you would certainly take as hostile and racist. I think that's unambiguously, if that's what was said, then it is. Acerbi denies that he said this. Acerbi has since come out again, and his explanation of what he said is that he claims he said ti faccio nero, which again, we can get into literal translations. The literal translation of ti faccio nero is I'll make you black. That sounds pretty much just as bad if you translate it just word for word. It's an Italian phrase. It's the same as someone in English saying, "I'll beat you black and blue." It's not even as direct, frankly, as "I'll beat you black and blue." It's a "I'll get you," basically, and that in itself isn't a racist phrase. So if Acerbi is telling the truth, I think you can definitely say that's not a phrase with intended racial undertones. A white person would say that to a white person. It's black and blue, which is a concept we have in English as well, for leaving someone bruised. And so now we have two versions of the truth of what happened. And at the time of recording, we haven't had any official getting to the bottom of that truth. I'm recording on Thursday, and the authorities are going to have an audience with both players on Friday. So we'll see what comes out from that. There's been all sorts of attempts to lip read and to observe the things that happened during the game by lots of people since then. I think what is clear is you can pretty clearly see when this incident happens. It's about halfway through the second half, a little bit less than halfway through the second half. They have a clash at a corner, and Acerbi goes to ground. He gets up, he says something, and then moments later you have Juan Jesus going over to the referee. So we can see that that's when it happened. I think it seems unambiguous that Juan Jesus certainly heard what he heard was an offensive phrase, and what's going to be for the authorities to establish whether or not that was a mishearing or whether it was a genuine case of abuse. I think that, first of all, again, sorry, just to say, if people are wondering why this hasn't happened quicker, the referee, and this gets to some of the stuff that I can't understand, the referee didn't put the incident in his report of the game, so it's been up to the Sporting Justice to launch a separate inquiry, effectively. And so it's taken a few days to get everything going. I will say, I think there's lots of things that don't feel very well handled. Obviously, I think in the game, the referee seems to just sort of try to move past it without dealing with it. Doesn't stop the game. And when you think about all the rules we have in place now for stopping games for fans racially abusing players when something like that happens on the pitch, for there not to be a more serious attempt to get to the bottom of it and to deal with it then and there isn't great. To not have it in the report, I'm not quite sure why that's happened. On the better side of things, I would say I think that Luciano Spalletti, the Italy manager, handled his part of this really well by immediately effectively saying, yeah, Francesco Acerbi can't be with the national team right now, isn't going to come to America with us for the games against Venezuela and Ecuador, the two friendlies. Go back to Inter and let's let this play out. I think that was absolutely the responsible thing for the manager of the national team to do, and I'm pleased that's what he did. He's since said that he doesn't think the situation is helped by the media speculation around it, which I appreciate he might view me as adding to right now by having this conversation, but I'm just trying to recount the situation for our English language listeners who might not have been following this story in the Italian press and got all that stuff. So I think he's really trying to tread a line, Spalletti, and to not take a side until he has all the information. He did say he tried to call Juan Jesus as well, which I think was a really, again, one of those things he didn't necessarily have to do. He's the manager of the Italian national team. Juan Jesus is not in the Italian national team, so he didn't have to make that phone call. But I think it speaks to who he was, to who he is, that he tried to.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, oh, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.